again, good morning, afternoon, or good evening, if whatever time that you're watching this virtual tour. My name is Leila Lavi, and if you haven't seen any of the virtual tours that I have done in the past, I have done, Amalfi Coast, and I have done one virtual tour about Sicily, and also I shared some of my travel tips for Italy. But today I wanted to take you to a couple of my favorite places in the fall season for Italy. So come on in and let's go and explore Italy during the fall season. Unfortunately, we can't do this in person. We can't be there. And I also, briefly talk about the rules and regulation. You may remember that as of July 1st, Canadians were able to travel to Italy. But right now, as of October 21st, we're actually removed from the safe list. So again, the same rules apply, and unfortunately, makes it a little bit more complicated for a lot of us to travel with, the quarantine and some travel restrictions there. But let's learn about what are the options or what are the interesting things to do during the fall season. I wanted to start off with a travel quote from Anthony Bourdain, one of my favorite people, and it says, "Travel isn't always pretty. It isn't always comfortable. Sometimes it hurts. It even breaks your heart. But that's okay. The journey changes you. It should change you. It leaves marks on your memory, on your consciousness, on your heart, and on your body. You take something with you. Hopefully, you leave something good behind." And for those of you who are not following me on Instagram, I highly, highly recommend that you do so, because I share tons of travel tips, travel good news, or updates when it comes to travel. And I love inspiring and educating people about travel and the options that are available. So a little bit of brief introduction about myself. Some of you may know me, you may have participated in my virtual travel series that I have done in the past. But as I mentioned, I'm Leila Lavi, and I have my own boutique travel concierge called Travel Design by Leila Lavi. And I believe in personalized and tailor-made vacations. It's okay if you like, package tour or cruises or things like that. I can certainly help you with that as well. But again, my specialty and my team, and I have a small team of what I call travel designers. And in fact, I call myself, the founder of my business, and obviously the chief travel designer, because I believe that, travel, like the interior design, like tailor-made clothes that you wanted to wear, that is, measured, it's done for you based on your taste. And I believe that the same thing applies for travel. A lot of people, we all have different preferences in our own way of traveling and what we value. And that's basically what I do for a lot of my clients. And I take care of all the details in terms of, the hotel, the villa, or, the accommodation, all the way to tours and guides and sightseeing and restaurant reservation, or, Michelin star restaurants, recommendations and booking and coffee shops. So whatever that your taste is, I basically built that for you. And that's why that's something that I absolutely love. So if you wanted to get in touch with me, email me at Leila@traveldesignbyleila.com and Travel Design by Leila on Instagram and Facebook. But let's get started. So first, why do we love fall in Italy? You may have seen me in my travel tips that I am not a big fan of traveling to Italy during the summer season, because it's so crowded, it's busy, it's expensive, and there are so many tourists out there. And especially during the last week of July and the first 2 weeks of August, when a lot of Italians also travel, there is so much, so much going on. So I personally love shoulder seasons, and fall is also one of my favorite seasons to explore Italy. And I'm going to tell you more and more. So the temperature is very comfortable, and the crowd has, left Italy. A lot of them, and the colors are so beautiful in the countryside, and it's also harvest season, and we're going to talk about some of those, specialties and some of those best produces that come during that time. And fall is also a fantastic time for vineyards and wine tasting because it's actually harvest time for grapes, which again, it would be a great experience to see how they're making wine there. There are also a lot of different what it's called in Italian sagra, which is festival. So there are different types of festivals going on in the fall, and obviously when it comes to beaches, you still can go to Puglia, Sicily, and there's still quiet beaches, still comfortable weather, and you can really enjoy it. But let's dig in. I briefly mentioned about the harvest season, and a lot of you may know that a lot of us travel to Italy. We all expect and we get fresh food and fresh produce there, and that's why all the food there is so delicious because everything is so seasonal and everything is built around that seasonal eating. So that's not a surprise to any of us. But I also wanted to talk about what's in season for fall, and a couple of things are fennel, spinach, mushroom, truffles, which we're going to talk about them extensively because that is one of the very big things that are happening in the fall in Italy. And pumpkins, chestnuts, which is again an interesting thing that I'll share with you later on. Figs, prunes, grapes, which as I mentioned, tons of wine tasting and vineyards that are they start producing good wine. Porcini mushrooms and apples. So as I mentioned, it's the same concept of harvest time, celebrating the way that we are doing it in North America through our Thanksgiving and how grateful we are for a great harvest season. That's basically pretty much happening in Italy as well. So, what are the couple of best places that I would recommend in terms of spending fall in Italy? And these are a couple of my favorite places that I have in mind. So this picture is about northern Italy, which I didn't have too much time I won't have too much time to talk about it during this time because that itself would need a different one. And in terms of, the fall foliage is beautiful in north of Italy as well. But if you're into skiing, typically the ski season in that area starts in December, and so that's basically the most popular time if for the winter activities. So starting off with the couple of things that I really enjoy. So one is obviously my number one is Milan, and the reason for that is because there is the most important music festival in Italy and Europe, which is Milano Musica Festival, that is happening, and it's happening simultaneously in Milan and Torino, and they have over 95 venues across these two cities. Obviously, this time, and when we're talking actually about all these festivals and all these great things, you have to remember that this year is an anomaly, and this year is a very different year. So when I'm talking about typically things happening, we're talking about a normal year, but not 2020 in a pandemic. And also, the festival, the music festival, is they're playing different types of music: classic, contemporary, jazz, traditional, experimental, and ancient music. So it's really interesting. And there are 2,600 musicians from 33 countries, and it's really an amazing time to be in Milan. But there are other reasons to also be in Milan, and a lot of you may who are, following fashion, that Italy is so famous for fashion, especially Milan's Fashion Week, which is happening in September. So even if you're not there during that time, it's there is like so much going on during that Milan's Fashion Week, and after that it becomes way the city calms down, and it becomes more quiet. But even during that, Milan's Fashion Week in September, you could walk into the historical center in Milan, and you can explore designer shop windows, and you may run into models if you are going to higher end restaurants, or like one of my favorite places that I either arrange or I basically recommend to my clients is Mandarin Hotel Bar and Bristow, and that's actually a spot that you probably would run into a lot of designers and fashion models there. So it's a great place just to be there to watch people and famous people there. And the other thing is, if you're also walking around in some of the central spots, such as Piazza San Babila, they are broadcasting shows in real time on Maxi screen. So you don't necessarily need to be inside one of those venues when they're hosting the Fashion Week, which I think is like great way to see people, to enjoy the vibe, but again, like do other things at the same time as well. The other thing I like about Milan's is just visiting those like high end boutiques. You don't necessarily need to go and shop, but if you go to Brera neighborhood, it's like New York Soho. In Toronto would be more like Yorkville area has lots of boutique stores, and that's something that I would say that's a must for Milan. And you also discover a lot of insta worthy designs and decors and stores that would be really cool to go and explore, even if you don't necessarily plan to buy anything. But it's a great window shopping experience. All right, so away from music festivals and fashion and boutique and high end window shopping, the other area or region that I really like for visiting in the fall is Sicily, because you may have seen the virtual tour of Sicily that I had a while back, but it's a place that has lots of arts and culture, because a lot of generations, a lot of Arabs came, Spanish came, and they all brought their culture, so they're all built up together. There's so much culture and history in Sicily, and a lot of them are outdoor. So during the summertime, it's very hot to go and explore these places. That's why that I prefer shoulder season, and even like fall would make it a really, really great time to visit all of these places. And for example, Agrigento in Sicily, it's one of the UNESCO World Heritage Sites that all these museums and all these pieces are outside. So in a very comfortable temperature, you would have a way more better experience to see all of that. The other thing about Sicily is Pistachio Festival, which is one of my very favorite things. I don't know if you've actually seen a pistachio tree. So the second picture has actually it shows that the fresh pistachio on a tree, and these if you're pistachio lovers, you could visit a lot of those farms to understand about their production process, and also how they make these delicacies for cooking, they make some special paste, and at the end of September, because this is also one of the things as part of the harvest, when they celebrate the harvest, you could also go and spend some time in one of those farms, help them pick, and also get to learn more about pistachio. The picture on top, it has a mixture of, very fresh pistachio on the right hand side, dried pistachio, and the other one is just, the dry pistachio, but it's really delicious. And the other thing about Sicily, which I don't have a slide for it, but it's about the beaches in Sicily, which again is like quiet, and you can certainly explore, and the weather is still great, so that would also make a great destination. Moving on to other areas and some of the other places that I really like. And one is about wine festivals. So, wine festival in Italy is when grapes are picked for the harvest, and during this period, there are festivals and feasts and celebrations and happening all across countryside. They've been doing this for so many years. And you could go, to Tuscany, Sicily, Puglia, but one of the best places is also Chianti in Tuscany. And one of my favorite cities, or hill town villages, is called Panzano, which also is super cute. So Chianti would be one of the places that I would definitely say to go for, wine festival and wine tasting and get the whole experience. And there are going to be actually some other places that I will talk about it in the coming slides, because a lot of us are familiar with Tuscany, and a lot of people have been to Tuscany, but some other parts that are less explored, or sort of like off the beaten path, or they are on the rise in terms of tourism and people getting to know them. Those are some of my favorite places, because it's still less crowded and not too many people actually go and visit those. So Piedmont's wine country is that one of those regions in Italy that is called Next Tuscany, because of those quaint hilltop towns, the lush vineyards and rich culture. It looks a lot like Tuscany, but with less crowd, and less tourism. But it's a great place to go to be, and it's on the northwest side, and it's a great place to go and visit. And although it's less famous than Tuscany, but Piedmont produces actually some of Italy's finest wines, including Barolo and Barbaresco. And we're going to actually talk about some of those things in more details. And during the month of October, the Hills of Lelanc wine region, they have lots of vine and great change of color. So it's just a beautiful place to be. And the other thing that I will talk extensively about this at this virtual tour of Fall for Italy is about white truffle. And white truffle is a big thing, and we're going to talk about some of those places. And one of the towns or smaller area in Piedmont is called Alba, and their white truffle festival is actually so famous. And again, but we were going to talk about the white truffle extensively. So, you mentioned I mentioned that truffle festival is quite a thing, but let's just talk about what are truffles to begin with. A lot of people may not be as familiar with truffles, so it's these are something like mushrooms, and are so rare and unique tasting, and it's such a delicacy that a lot of you can see it in France. So there is a lot of French cuisines that had some sort of truffle in them, and there is also in Italy as well. So white truffle and black truffle. There are two kinds, and the white truffle is considered the finer delicacy, so it's more expensive. And in terms of the harvest for them, they're also different. So white truffle are typically in season for fall, and black truffles are, they're sort of like winter delicacy. So they're very, very different. And going more on, the truffle festival, um, white truffles are top Italian culinary item. And in fall, there's so many festivals, there are so many fairs that are happening. There are, auctions and bargains, and in some regions in Italy that they are well known for the white truffle. There's so much white truffle events related that are happening. But if you're definitely a foodie, I'm sure that you have either have this, truffle experience, or you wanted to go on a, truffle hunt, and basically maybe with a chef preparing some meal and cooking with truffle, and mix that fresh seasonal harvest experience with a great Italian cooking, and that's actually one of my amazing way of sort of like exploring that region. More on the actual truffle festival itself. So, as I mentioned, this is such a delicacy, and the Alba Truffle Festival in Alba, Piedmont, is quite famous, and but they are also in northern regions of Italy and Umbria as well. But again, we're going to talk about Piedmont and Alba, and this is a festival that takes place on weekends from the beginning of October through the end of November. And this famous festival is a very unique experience. And, through those experiences and fairs and festivals, you can get anything from, truffle oils to the actual truffles, and it could be very pricey, or you could get some sort of like products that they made, or some of the meals that they made with truffles. Here is a video that I wanted to play, so you get to see um, those truffles. And so, as I mentioned, there is so much, um, um, different types of festivals or events around that. And you saw, one of the videos from Alba Festival that, showed how the vibe is. And one of the other things about Piedmont area is this. It's one of the Relais and Chateau properties. It's called Relais San Maurizio, and it's a former monastery on a hill with panoramic views of the surrounding vineyard. And it also has a Michelin starred restaurant that sources fresh vegetables and herbs from their on-site garden. And some of you may, those of you who participated in the virtual tours of Italy, you know that I'm a big fan of what is called agriturismo, which are those, accommodation or boutique hotels that you stay in. They have their own garden, they have their own chef, and they basically prepare everything fresh. So that is one of the must-dos in Italy that you're staying. So obviously, this is one of my favorite places to stay. But regardless, I highly encourage you to stay in at least one or two agriturismo accommodation or place while you're staying in Italy, because that's a very unique experience. And also, it's it's a quiet and calm down experience as well. So, if you're going a lot of, sightseeing, maybe you wanted to stay in a property that, you're basically, it's sort of like a, retreat concept that you're relaxing the mind and good food and getting ready again to start, the rest of your journey or going back home. The interesting thing that a lot of people don't know about is about Chestnut Festival, and it's actually in village of Scala on the Amalfi Coast, and so a lot of people, don't know about this, and they think that Amalfi Coast is only Capri and all the other picturesque villages that have beautiful view of the water and the Amalfi Coast, but this is also a very interesting thing. So the whole surrounding mountains are covered in chestnut trees, and if you can catch a harvest, then you're for a fun weekend. It's great, and it's a must do experience in the Amalfi area in the fall. And the other reason that I love actually Amalfi area during the fall season is because of you could go on fantastic hikes with a stunning view. And as I mentioned, it's going to be less crowded. A lot of tourists have gone, and the hiking is a fantastic way of exploring Amalfi. And imagine that you have also experienced some chestnut. So that is it. I wanted to keep it to about half an hour time for this virtual tour of the fall destination. So I hope that you really enjoyed. And here is my information. As I mentioned, I'm in the business of unique and personalizing trips that are designed for you without the worrying of where do I go, what do I do. And I have, local experts. I've got local connections that are helping me to put this all together. My email is Layla at Travel Design by Layla, and you can find me on Instagram or Facebook at Travel Design by Layla. And thank you so much for listening in. I hope that you enjoyed, and I hope that you learned something new. If you have any feedback or comments, please reach out to me and let me know about your thoughts. But for next time and another virtual tour, ciao.